So, welcome to the Isha Yoga Centre. I thought I'd make the most of doing this today because I've just come down with a cold over the last day or so I've actually got a bit of time. And schedule here is quite busy, so trying to fit this in would have been difficult without this cold, so in a way, it's good. Wow, yeah, 2 weeks as of yesterday. And it feels like much longer. I feel like I've been here for a few months. It is an incredibly beautiful place, insanely beautiful, otherworldly in many different ways. I must admit it took me a few days to really settle in here. I was obviously building up quite a lot of momentum before coming, and I think a lot of people have done the same, and a lot of people I've talked to have made a lot of sacrifices and big decisions to come here. And I wasn't really sure what to expect. I knew that this was a much more accessible space to learn Eastern kind of mysticism and science, yogic science, than anywhere else I'd seen. But it's still full of cultural ceremony and ritual. In certain aspects, you know, you could come here and stay within the cottages and probably have a very different experience. But as a full-time volunteer, you kind of are volunteering in a variant of different spaces, which is amazing, and in itself is a sadhana, which is like a practice. Because for 3 days I could be chopping vegetables, and another 3 days I could be working in the temple, or one of the temples, all sorts of things. I've gone out and I've been working on the farm, sorting out the coconuts and guavas and other plants that they have here. You use such a wide range of things, and I'm sure I've barely even scratched the surface in the few weeks I've been here. But it was a serious shock. I arrived into Coimbatore and amazingly got picked up by a friend of a friend who drove me all the way to the ashram, which was beautiful and amazing, and it was such a gradual arrival. But yeah, and then I got here and I was at such a quick tempo, so much momentum behind me. I know a woman kind of brought me to the desk, and the first thing she said was slow down, and I really kind of clocked that I was kind of rushing and, you know, still had that oomph behind me. So yeah, and it's a very interesting place here because the tempo is much more relaxed. However, there is a lot of intensity. You know, I think not only from the fact that everyone is here to try and transform themselves in some way, but also just the ambience of the place, the way the place is like kind of made and built, the kind of progression and the day-to-day routine is, you know, it's intense from start to finish, and there's no weekends, no days off. It's 7 days a week, intense. And I must admit the first few days took a bit of kind of settling in. They put me straight into the Lingabhairavi temple for volunteering, which is probably the most ceremonious of spaces here. It's actually a temple that represents the feminine, and a linga is a kind of form, usually made out of some sort of metal, and you can have mercury lingas a lot, and they are made through ceremony to resonate at certain frequencies that correlate with certain elements of nature. Now this space resonates on the feminine aspect of life. It's going to be difficult in this video because I don't want to kind of go into too much detail, because I still only am brushing the surface of the depth of knowledge that is held here and taught here. So I'll probably over the time kind of go into more and more depth of different spaces when I gain a better understanding for myself. But this was a beautiful space, but it was quite full of mantras and chants. It was full of kind of intense ceremonies and ways of devotion. There is streams of people coming into this place daily, thousands there must be. There's a hell of a lot of swamis coming in at the moment, because there is a bit of a ceremony and they kind of go around all the temples in I think just South India, it might be all of India, and then they head to Kerala for a final kind of celebration to finish this festival. So there's a lot of groups of these people coming in at the moment, and it's so there was a lot of kind of worship and intensity, and in a way, you know, worship and kind of religion is such a huge part of this culture over here, that even though this place is not religious, it does kind of cater for the fact that you can believe what you want in terms of God. This place isn't about that. This place is about yoga and transformation through experiential experience and practice. You know, here you might have seen the intro, there was a shot of Shiva, and I might even, if I'm lucky enough to get a shot of it, get a shot of the projections that happen on that Adiyogi statue of Shiva to put after this video, because they're pretty amazing. Now, Shiva is the Adiyogi, which means the first yogi. And although in Hindu mythology Shiva is a god, in yogic mythology Shiva was the first yogi, the first person to develop the tools of yoga to enhance the body and enhance the mind to such a state that the body can build in frequency and energy to reach higher states of consciousness. That's the, you know, my basic understanding of the practices of yoga. There is hundreds of dragonflies you can probably see going around that I think are absolutely incredible. The nature here has been amazing. In the first few days I saw a snake and kingfishers and monkeys on the roof, all these thousands of dragonflies and crazy insects that I've never seen before in my life. And there's so many beautiful flowers and plants, and just the place is heavenly. But like I said before, it has this intensity about it, and in the first few days it did take me a while to really settle into this place and this understanding, and actually from talking to other people, mainly Westerners that felt the same, it kind of put my mind at ease, and I've really come to terms with it. This place is built for personal growth. It's not a place where people will force you to do things, although, you know, you are kind of prompted to make sure you go into your volunteering and make sure you're doing as much practice as possible. But, you know, you can book onto as many programs as you want. That's totally down to you. You could just concentrate on one, you could concentrate on 5, you could do all of them. You could do whatever you want, really. This place is beautifully constructed for that self-transformational process. And I think the beauty of it is that, you know, you can't be forced into something like this. You know, the experience is innately personal, and it's about inner transformation. And even in a lot of the practices that are taught here, they don't really tell you what to feel or what to experience. It's very much do this movement, do this type of breath in this order, and, you know, repeat it for a period of time until you feel for yourself the impact. I think I've realised the insane implications of yoga being here and the amount of dedication that is needed. There's people here that have come and they do every course within the space of a few months and they run through all of it. And then there's people here that will stay here for years, kind of slowly building up or in their own time. I think I've realised that I really want to kind of elongate this process. I don't want to kind of rush into a lot of these things here, because I feel that they're incredibly powerful forms of yoga, and that they need dedication and time to really grasp one thing. You know, that it's very intrinsic. You know, there's a lot of yoga practitioners, especially in England and a lot of the West, that you know, I've been to several yoga classes, and they're nowhere near as kind of concise as it is here. And there is a certain energy around the fact that these things have been kept in this order and this state and this way of teaching for thousands of years. And even the way it is taught is incredibly scripted, because every word can make each individual kind of think something different. So these have been constructed in such a way that hopefully for generations to come they can keep teaching these powerful tools. And I mean, the crazy thing is, you know, you could learn Shambhavi, which is under the inner engineering process, which can take half an hour, 21 minutes, with, you know, as a whole, and it's on its individual self without the preparatory stuff, and that could transform your day-to-day life. I kind of don't want to go too much into the kind of science behind things, because I think I can kind of trickle that in throughout maybe these videos. But really the basis of yoga in itself, and why they kind of push yoga more than kind of meditation, like a lot of other places would do, is because the understanding, and this is backed up by a lot of science now, that your body is split into three. So you've got your physical body, which is made up of the food that you've accumulated over your life. You've got your mental body, which is your mind and inherently your emotions. And then you've got your energy body, which is the fields of energy that surge through and around your body. Now these have all been measured. Obviously you can't see the energy body, and in yoga they're referred to as chakras, and on a more individual level, nadis. I think there's 72,000 nadis that apparently have been located through yogis over the centuries. Now there's so much depth into this, and actually only just now in modern science is starting to actually bring out research to say that there's a lot of meaning to this. Now the basic idea of yoga is to understand that, first of all, meditation isn't something that you can do. Meditation is a state, to be meditative. And to be meditative is to be as aware and conscious as possible in any given moment. You know, I mean, in the West, I've been brought up with the understanding that to meditate is to try and sit and not to think, and not to have your mind chattering, and you know, to close away from things, and that's the complete opposite of what meditation is. Meditation is about experiencing as intensity of the moment and wherever you are as possible. Now the idea of yoga is that it's very difficult to do that. You know, we can sit and try not to think, and we can sit and try not to have aches and pains in our body, and we can sit and try to do something which will do the complete opposite. As soon as you try not to think in your mind, if you've ever tried it, you will just have chatter, and you'll be tricking yourself into thinking that you're not thinking. Now the idea of yoga is to train the breath and to train the body in such a way that it should be effortless to partake in life, especially sitting, which is a very difficult thing to do, as I found being here for 2 weeks. Within the first few days my back was in quite a lot of pain. We're taught a certain way of sitting, which is difficult, and I'm slowly getting there, and I think I picked up a new practice called Surya Kriya, which is very powerful, that has been helping my back and a lot of my kind of ligaments. But the idea is to be able to sit and almost not feel your body, and to, through these kind of concentrating on breath and concentrating on these, some of them quite technical postures, we can also train our mind to kind of focus and be focused on what we're doing. And the idea is that if you train your physical body and your mental body, then your energy body will also align. And once all three bodies are aligned to their full potential, energy can be experienced on very high levels, and meditativeness will be a subsequent reaction of this. I've just watched an incredible video actually that one of my friends here showed me, and I'll probably post it on a wall at some point. And it kind of talks about the scientific effect of intense breathing, which if you partake in Shambhavi and many other courses, you'll do a lot of these intense breathing and locks, which is kind of locking certain parts of your body to hold in this energy. Now I knew that it definitely had power, but to kind of see a bit more of a kind of experimental view, as in terms of science, on this process and what's happening chemically inside your body, just showed how unbelievably powerful this is. And in short, the scientist discusses how these chemicals move up your spine and head towards your pineal gland, which in yoga is referred to as your third eye chakra, and create magnetic fields by going up and down your body. And this in turn creates magnetic fields within your body and also surrounding your body. And when this is done properly and the body is able to withstand this intense amount of energy, chemicals are released into the brain that allow you to experience very intense states of being. Now these chemicals range from things like serotonin and many other things that are the key chemicals for happiness and joy, which is the first stage of where any yogi wants to get to the point where you can stay content and happy. But then it also goes up to very intense chemicals like DMT that are released that give you a very intense, realistic view of nature and life. Now, I've just finished reading the Engineering book, which Sadhguru wrote, and I ended up buying 2 more books as soon as I finished reading that, which is impressive for me because it usually takes me months to read a book. And I feel like if you want to get a viewpoint of yoga in any particular way, shape or form, and I feel like in a way yoga has a part to play in every human's life at the moment, especially in the West, because we're so caught up in the intensity of day-to-day life. And even just a small amount of yoga can bring an incredible amount of balance. And I felt that just being here in 2 weeks. But yeah, I think you should maybe go ahead and read the Inner Engineering book. I think it is incredible. It puts so many things into perspective, and you've only got to read it to know that a lot of these understandings are incredibly insightful and truthful. I think that's the beautiful thing about Sadhguru, is that the way he talks, he simplifies things so much. He uses jokes a lot to talk about very serious subjects, and I feel like it shows his level of understanding. Now I must admit, when I was here, I know that part of the process of inner transformation is learning to let go, which has a lot of meanings for us all on very different levels. But learning to let go, in my eyes, is about learning to accept what is and to understand a realistic viewpoint of where you sit in reality at this present moment. I think we all, and I've been prone to do it more so as much as everyone else, we've all hold on to things, be it an idea of who we are, a career, habits throughout the day, certain thought processes, everything. We hold on to so much because we believe it's our identity. And the only way we can really transform is when we accept what we are on many levels, and then realise that we know very little about many things. And I think once we become humble to that, we can then allow ourselves to be open to new education and new insights that can allow us to transform and grow. The difficult thing when it comes to yoga is obviously to allow ourselves to really trust the teacher or the guru. Means it's kind of a necessity to go through these yogic practices, because they are things that you can only experience within. They're not something that someone can show you on a chart, although this other video does a very good job of showing how the chemicals are released in your body. But in terms of an experiential experience, it's very hard, you know, to tell you anything, you know, without you experiencing it for yourself. So, you know, to come here and to kind of learn some of these practices that I've been learning takes quite a lot of letting go and accepting, you know, just to soak in as much as you can, and to trust that, you know, if you're going to feel something, experience something, it's going to happen. Obviously, like I said, it was quite an intense start jumping straight into Linga Bhairavi temple for me, because I wasn't used to this amount of ritualism. And at first I was kind of it closed me off a little bit, because I was expecting this place to be more, or to be less so like that. But I've realised that actually, like many things, and this even happens in the scientific world of the West, ritual and ceremony are used to give things importance and gravitas, and to almost stop the misuse by building energy around something. Because I think, you know, there's a lot of things that we can't see and we can't sense, and, you know, ritual and ceremony can be used to give things true meaning. And also, if you allow yourselves to become, we're all, you know, have ceremony and ritual in our lives constantly. I think our warped viewpoint through a lot of religions has given that a bad press, but I feel like, you know, everything we do is ritualistic. If you get up in the morning and you're prone to having a coffee and sitting at the table in the same chair with it's all ritualistic, you know. We all choose to do these things day to day to give ourselves a certain level of comfort and routine, and to build certain patterns around things. So I've slowly come to realise that actually a lot of these rituals are not only here for a lot of the kind of tourists that come to give them a chance of feeling something through their traditional routines of worship and kind of devotion, but also to build a certain atmosphere around a space that is inherently built for you to sit within and to learn to feel on a very simple note. Now, you know, you can come here and go into many of the other spaces that aren't so ritualistic. There is some very powerful spaces. The Dhyana Linga, which is at the centre of this place, is another linga, said to be the most powerful in the world, because it apparently resonates at every frequency in the human body, which is actually the same frequencies as the C scale in the Western music scale, which I think is beautifully amazing. But this linga is meant to resonate at certain frequencies, so if you allow yourselves to be open and feel, it can give an innate sense of meditativeness, because once your body resonates at all these frequencies with balance, without some resonating more than others, you feel whole and balanced, and you're able to relax into life with ease. And it's a beautiful space, and I must admit, you know, I haven't spent enough time in there, and I want to do something called a Linga Seva, which is where you kind of, my volunteering will be mainly in that space. Because, you know, I kind of came in with so much momentum and was expecting this big kind of when I got here, and very much have realised that this is a place of personal growth, and until you are willing, nothing happens like that, not in transformation. And things do come in chapters. I've had some amazing little breakthroughs. I had, I think, a day that really got me to understand this place and to realise that, I just need to be open and honest and to just take what works for me. And I don't have to dive into the deep end, and you don't have to devote yourself, and you don't have to do what I saw a lot of people doing, which was quite a lot of devotion and faith. That you just kind of take what you need from it, and that's what this place is built for that individual transformation. But a day that really changed that for me is I was volunteering in just a cloakroom. Actually, it was like the second job that I did, I think, for 3 days, with these great 2 Indians that were lovely, and they made the day really easy. But I just said namaskaram to everyone that came, which is a kind of beautiful greeting, so much better than hello, because it means in my own view, I bow to the divinity that is within you, that is also within me, and everything else. It's pretty much, and I think if you say that and you look into someone's eyes, it's just such a beautiful greeting. And I got so many smiles back from people. And I had this woman come up to me and tell me that she got this really positive energy off me, and she believes I'm going to go really far. And that filled me with confidence and happiness. And just these smiles just kept building and building and building. And I kind of realised, that it is down to me. I'm not coming here for someone to make me feel a certain way or be a certain way. This is for me to do this work. And this space is just a space that's here where you're not going to be looked at weird for sitting in the middle of the field and talking to a camera, or you're not going to be looked at weird for staring at a fish or a flower, or making strange noises, or chanting at the top of your voice, or doing whatever you want to do to transform yourself and to feel liberated and to feel, this beautiful thing that is life to an intense degree. And these smiles kind of brought me to tears by the end of the day, and I went and sat in the main kind of practice space, which is the Surya Kund, which I'll go into in further detail later on in other videos. And I just cried my eyes out of just feeling so much joy and so much connection to everyone. And it was amazing. But as life seems to have it, I was also filled with quite a big ego boost at that point, and thinking, I don't need all of this stuff, and all it is just a simple smile. And in a way I was right, but I also deserved a slap back down to earth, and I did get a slap back down to earth, as I was told to move twice by a security guard and one of the kind of full-term swamis that live here. It's not a swami, monks, but they're not even called that either. I can't remember the name for them. Because I was being quite erratic, and I was kind of really going with this emotion, and I feel as though it was kind of life kind of telling me that it's a good start, but you still know very little, and this place still has a lot to teach you. And I really felt that. And actually, from having that day, I think there was a big release of energy in that was probably needed. But it really just balanced me out, and realised that actually, even if I just come out of here with a sense of joy, which is the true aim really, isn't it, at the base of all of this, and I'm already feeling that throughout the day. I had a guy yesterday say that I was the most joyful English person he'd ever met, and he thought all of Brits were really grumpy, so I thought that was kind of funny. So yeah, and I've met some beautiful people already, and incredible friends from all across the world that I'm sharing so much beautiful conversation with. And I have a loose idea of what I'd like to do. I'm not really sure yet. I've only done one course since being here, and they only lasted a few days. And they're very, very cheap. You could come here, I think that course was equivalent to about £20 or something like that. And it was incredibly powerful. And there's so many other things, there's a thing called BSP that I want to do, that's an experiential process that is meant to be very intense and most people come out saying that they cried their eyes out and they laughed unstoppably for periods of time, and that it's just a very intense process that not much is talked about because it's meant to be very individual, that I'd love to experience, and a few other things. But I've applied to join Sadhana Pada, which starts next July and will go on for 7 months. And it's pretty much like volunteering, except there's more kind of focus on practices, and you do more skill-based volunteering for longer periods of time. And I feel like I need that amount of time to really gradually take in these processes and try to learn them to the best degree. So yeah, so my ideas are probably stay here for another month. I'm doing a thing called Yoga Asanas, which is kind of a hatha yoga program, which will fit with my Surya career really well, because I feel like I really need to get my body in shape before I can do any more of these quite intense breathing and kind of meditative practices. So yeah, I'm going to do that, and then I think I'm going to do a bit of travelling and head up to Nepal, where I'll need to get my work visa to stay longer for Sadhana Pada, and then I'll probably come back, but I don't know, and day by day these things could change. You know, this is a place where, you know, everyone kind of says, you know, it'll all hit you in waves. I already feel a big transformation of myself in 2 weeks, which is crazy. And I know that it's going to keep, you know, coming in waves, and there's going to be difficult things to deal with on many levels. But, you know, I feel blessed to be here at the moment. I am going to make the absolute most of it. And hopefully in due course videos I'll be able to kind of go more in depth into some of this place, because there's so much depth, it's unreal. And I kind of don't want to do any of it injustice by even trying to give an overview, because I'm still on the peripheries of the incredible stuff that is here. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I hope you're all doing well, any viewers that are watching this. And I'll see you soon when I get the next minute, or have the next cold. Namaskar.